ओम परतत्वे सदा लीनो रामकृष्ण समाज्ञया यो धर्म स्थापन रतो वीरेशं तं नमाम्यहम्. We have been studying Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga, and we have read first two chapters, and we have to read the third chapter today. In the first chapter on the necessity of religion, Swami has shown that man is incomplete without the struggle to rise above the senses or a struggle towards the infinity. Without that, man is incomplete. In the next lecture on the real nature of man, Swamiji starts by telling that body cannot create the mind, mind has to create the body, because who created the body question remains unanswered. So, there is subtler forces which create the body and they themselves work in that body. So, there is a body, there is a mind in that body, but mind is not able to explain everything because mind has a form. And beyond mind, like that if you go, anything which has a form cannot be the final solution. So the final solution has to be the formless Satchit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss. And then Swamiji says that it appears, I have an Atman, you have an Atman, but this existence, consciousness, bliss has no form, so it has no limits. It has to be infinite, both space-wise, time-wise, and also thing-wise. That means nothing can exist apart from it. So in that case, it has to be one without a second. So myself, yourself are all superstitions. There is only one self in the world, and that is our real nature. And then Swamiji has shown that that is our real nature. And the question he has raised is that, is it people are afraid of that because they think that they will lose their individuality. But there is no individuality in this individual so-called self because it is changing every moment, and real individuality will be reached only when we know that we are infinite. Then only that will be the unchanging real individuality. Then again, people ask the question about the utility of this knowledge. And Swamiji has said, utility does not mean pound, shilling and pence, and so we cannot measure truth by utility, and so utility, highest utility is that our problems which are due to our wrong knowledge will vanish and we shall attain our own kingdom, which is bliss itself. That is the highest utility. And then Swamiji has raised the question, is it practical? Especially practical in the modern society. And Swamiji has said that if it is not practical in the modern society, the society will have to break. We will have to make the society in such a way that this is practical in that society. So after answering all these questions, Swamiji has established that our real nature is infinite. Then we turn to another question. And the question is, why we feel this small self to be our nature? If infinity is our real nature, why do we feel this body to be our reality? Why do we feel the mind to be the reality? Why do we feel there is an individual self which is our reality? Why? So, the knowledge becomes complete only when we know how wrong knowledge or ignorance works in us. How this wrong knowledge comes, why it comes. So, this is the question. In the second lecture, Swamiji had also confronted us by the supreme fact of death. And in front of this, all our worldly progression stops. All our achievements vanish. And so we have to think of the permanent reality. That is how the second lecture was started, basing upon the Kathopanishad. Now, in answer to this question, we turn to the third lecture, which is based upon Shvetashvatara Upanishad, as Swamiji will himself tell you. And also, let me state here, there is the Brahma Sutra Bhashya by Shankaracharya. And he has introduced it in a beautiful way by telling that the knowledge will tell us the reality is like that. But what is the practical in life? Practical means what is the fact of our experience? Please remember these two words. Truth is absolute. Truth is that which never changes. But that is not our experience today. So our experience, when we say fact, fact means fact of experience. And fact of experience is completely different from truth. So this Swamiji has to explain now. And so he takes up, the name of this lecture is Maya and Illusion. Maya is a statement of fact, as Swamiji will explain that to us. Illusion means there is nothing and mentally we think something. If there is nothing and mentally we think something, it is called illusion. And why Swamiji has named it Maya and illusion? Because that is the general misunderstanding about Maya. As soon as Swamiji says, as soon as the Hindu says that the world is a Maya, people jump to the conclusion that world is only mental. And this has come through Buddhist. Swamiji will show us to us. This is called subjective superimposition, subjective imagination, that there is no world we are imagining in our mind. That is not Maya. Maya is a statement of fact. We are not imagining, we are experiencing. We are experiencing. It is a fact of our experience, though it is not the truth. Though it is not the truth, because it changes, but it is a fact of our experience. It is not a mental imagination. Very important point Swamiji will clear here. So in the heading itself he has said Maya and illusion to show that Maya is different than this illusion or mental imagination. So now we turn to it, and Swamiji will let us read now to start with. I have been telling you the dates also of the lectures, and both those lectures were in June 1896. Then, you know, in England, the months of July, August, September are summer vacation. People are not in their places. So Swamiji could resume his classes only in October. And so, this first lecture, first means there are 3 lectures on Maya. First lecture, Maya and Illusion, is delivered in London 15th of October 1896. Those who want to keep the chronology, please note that this is delivered in London on 15/10/1896. 15th October 1896. We turn to the lecture now. Almost all of you have heard of the word Maya. Almost all. That means Swamiji's people, and Swamiji has been lecturing, and so they have heard this word Maya. Because as soon as we turn to Vedanta, as soon as we turn to Upanishads, as soon as we turn to Hinduism, this word does crop up. Now some of them may be new, they might not have heard. Rishi's sentences are exact, mind you. So almost all of you have heard of the word Maya. Unfortunately, you have heard of the word Maya without understanding the reality of Maya. So Swamiji has used this word. Almost all of you have heard of the word Maya. Generally it is used, though incorrectly. to denote illusion or delusion or some such thing. We already seen what is illusion. There is nothing anywhere, idea in the mind, that is called illusion. What is delusion? Somebody does something and deludes us. So there are two different things, though appearance is same. Swamiji will explain himself what is delusion and illusion. But as these words have come, it is generally, though wrongly used in the sense of illusion or delusion or some such thing. Illusion means mental imagination. Delusion means something like magic. The magician comes and does some trick by which our mind gets deluded. That is called delusion. Let me quote a famous example. I don't remember when I was giving you or not. There was a great magician in Calcutta, P.C. Sarkar. And presently there is a P.C. Sarkar, but his father, P.C. Sarkar. And it was declared that he will show a magic show at 10 o'clock in the morning in the Star Theatre in Calcutta. And because of his popularity, people started packing the hall from 8 o'clock or even before. And by 10 o'clock it was absolutely packed up. And there is no trace of Sarkar. And people are eagerly waiting. 10, 15, 30, 11, 11:15, 11:30, 11:45, they are almost getting angry, but they cannot leave. And P.C. Sarkar enters exactly at 12 noon. And as he enters, he looks at his wristwatch and says, "Oh, I came exactly at 10. And everybody looks to his own wristwatch and says, "Yes, yes, yes." Though they have been waiting for 2 hours, though they have been waiting for many hours, and they know that 10 o'clock is gone, 10:30 is gone, 11:30 is gone. And when P.C. Sarkar looks at his wristwatch and says, "I have come exactly at 10, all of them become deluded. And all of them look to their own wristwatches. And wristwatches must be showing 12 o'clock. And seeing that, they say, "Yes, yes, yes." Then P.C. Sarkar says, "This was my first trick. This was my first trick. Now I will show you another." So we understand by delusion something like a magic show. That means the magician does something, mentally hypnotizes, whatever it may be. So the difference between illusion and delusion we understand. Illusion is nobody is doing anything, our mind is imagining. And delusion is somebody is doing something due to which we are forced to imagine. Now the difference is that illusion may be my illusion, your illusion, but delusion is common to that hall. And then Swamiji says, or some such thing. That means the unreal. Something has entered the mind. So, something may be totally mental, may be caused by somebody else. So, in between something may be there. So, Swamiji has already told in this sentence, though incorrectly. That means this is not the meaning of the word Maya. Maya does not mean that you are mentally imagining something, though generally it is taken in that light. Or Maya does not mean that somebody has deluded you, or a mixture of them or something in between them. That is not the meaning. So, we cannot read Swamiji's lectures like a novel. We have to assimilate every word, every sentence. And so Swamiji is telling, though incorrectly, to denote illusion or delusion or some such thing. But the theory of Maya forms one of the pillars upon which the Vedanta rests. One of the pillars. That means the concept of Brahman is another pillar. But one of the pillars is theory of Maya. It is therefore necessary that it should be properly understood. It should be properly understood. Then only we can understand Vedanta, then only we can follow Vedanta, then only we can be really Vedanti, then only we can realize our own real nature, which Swami just proposed in the second lecture. And so, this is what we have to patiently, calmly proceed. Swamiji is guiding us to understand what is really Maya. I ask a little patience of you. Swamiji himself has said, patiently we have to assimilate every idea which Swamiji is putting before us. Then only we can catch it fully. I ask a little patience of you, or there is a great danger of its being misunderstood. So most of the people do misunderstand this Maya, and even after listening to Swamiji, unless we patiently catch his ideas, we are likely to misunderstand it. Now Swamiji starts. The oldest idea of Maya that we find in Vedic literature is the sense of delusion. Oldest idea of Maya, that means what is this Maya itself? The idea was evolving. It takes a definite shape later on. Swamiji will show it. Two things he will tell us. Only in the Shvetashvatar Upanishad, Maya is really dealt with. And amongst philosophers, only Shankaracharya is correctly dealt with. This is what Swamiji will tell us. Now it is developing, the idea is developing. That means we see that what we see is not real. So we have to make some idea of why it has come so, why we see the unreality. So the oldest idea of Maya that we find in Vedic literature is the sense of delusion. But then the real theory had not been reached. They were struggling to find what is Maya. They could understand that what we see is not real. We find such passages as Indra through his Maya assumed various forms. So here Maya is like a magic. Indra has deluded us. Indra is not the king of gods here. Indra is the supreme reality only. And he has assumed various forms through some magic-like power. Through some magic-like power, Indra has assumed various forms. And we have become deluded. So that is the sense of delusion. Somebody plays some trick upon us. And people think Maya is like that. If you read the Puranic literature, including Bhagavatam, Shri Krishna, why he did like this? Magic. Shri Krishna, why he did like that? Magic. Shri Krishna, why he did like to delude people. So that is what the general concept is. God has deluded us. What can we do? God has deluded us. Put the blame on God. And He has deluded us. But theory had not been reached. Indra through his Maya, assumed various forms. Here it is true that the word Maya means something like magic. And we find various other passages always taking the same meaning. In the beginning, various passages are there taking the same meaning that God has deluded us. The word Maya then dropped out of sight altogether. Swamiji is tracing the Vedic literature chronologically, historically. And we find for some time there is no use of the word Maya. But in the meantime, the idea was developing. People are trying to come to grips with this. Why we see which is not real? And so they were evolving in their theory. Later the question was raised, a question is raised. Why can't we know the secret of the universe? That is our problem. We see the universe, we think it is real. We feel it is real. But the universe we find is not real. So what is the secret? The question is not what is the secret. Question is why can't we know the secret of the universe? What has stopped us from knowing the secret of the universe? And the answer given was very significant. Though the word Maya is not used, Swamiji is telling that the right theory was evolving. Because we talk in vain and because we are satisfied with the things of the senses and because we are running after desires, therefore we, as it were, cover the reality with a mist. So the cause was found in our mind. Cause was found in our constitution. And 3 points have been raised here. We talk in vain. Without understanding we talk. So we are not able to get at the truth. Because we are satisfied with the things of the senses. Sense is there, object is there, we are satisfied. So, again the weakness lies on us. And because we are running after desires. Senses and objects is one way. We have desires. And we want to, infinite desires we have. Not only we want to eat and drink and enjoy certain things, we want to become great, we want much power, we want political power, we want this and we want that. So all sorts of nonsensical desires are there. So these 3 types of weaknesses have been pointed out in man in general. We talk in vain, we are satisfied with the things of the senses and we are running after desire. Therefore, so all these 3 together have made something. We are as it were means this is an example. Cover the reality with a mist. So there is a reality and we are not able to see it correctly. So there is something like a mist. What is a mist? Mist does not cover the reality entirely. There is some reality, but the mist has distorted its vision. So mist is something which we feel something, but we are not able to know it correctly. And this has happened because our desires, our attachment to the senses, our talking in vain, this has caused, now this is not mental imagination, but weakness is in us. And because of that, we are not able to see the real nature of things. Why we are not seeing? In between something has come. In between something like mist has come. Here the word Maya is not used at all. But we get the idea that the cause of our ignorance is a kind of mist that has come between us and the truth. So we are searching for why we are not seeing the reality or truth correctly, and we understand that something has come in between like the mist. This much has been told, though the word Maya is not used, but we are approaching the correct idea. Much later on, in one of the latest Upanishads, Shatashatar Upanishad appears to be a very late Upanishad compared to the others. We find the word Maya reappearing, but this time a transformation has taken place in it. In it means in our idea about Maya. And a mass of new meaning has attached itself to the word. What is that? Theories had been propounded. Now, those who are holding this small book, in this particular edition, there is a misprint. Here it says theories had been propounded and repeated. I consulted the complete works and older editions, and it is repealed. Those who are using this word and the word repeated occurs, please correct it to repealed. That T is to be replaced by L. Theories have been propounded and repealed. That means people thought Maya is like that. Somebody showed that it is not like that. So theories have been propounded and repealed in between. Others had been taken up until at last the idea of Maya became fixed. So people are struggling to find out the reason for not seeing the truth. Something has come in between and they are struggling. And then they come to the final truth about it. Where they come? Last the idea of Maya become fixed. Now it will not change. Now it may be misunderstood due to Buddhist or other reasons, but it will not change now. So it has become fixed. So it has become a reality. It has become a correct idea. We read in the Shvetasvatar Upanishad. So this is what Swamiji is telling us. Among the Upanishads, the only Upanishad correctly dealing with Maya is Shvetasvatar Upanishad. No nature to be Maya, and the ruler of the Maya is the Lord himself. Mayam tu prakritim vidyat, mayinam tu mayeshwaram. That is the Shvetasvatar Upanishad. What was being called as prakriti, nature, is nothing but Maya. And who controls it? Mayinam tu Maheshwaram, the Supreme Lord. He is not deluding us. But Maya is something which has come in between. What Maya is, Swamiji will yet to tell. But here we find, let me tell some little important things though aside. The so-called jnanis do not give importance to the Shvetasvatar Upanishad. And we find 10 Upanishads, 10 Upanishads, 10 Upanishads. And Shankaracharya, wherever he wants to tell about Maya, he quotes Shvetasvatar Upanishad. This very sentence. Now there is a commentary on Shvetasvatar Upanishad, supposedly written by Shankaracharya. Apparently, on critical analysis, it does not appear to be written by Shankaracharya. Whatever it may be, the importance of Shvetasvatar Upanishad cannot be denied. There is a shloka in one of the Upanishads. Read 10 Upanishads. It does not include Shvetasvatar. And so people die. All such limitations create death in Vedanta. But Shvetasvatar Upanishad, because it deals with bhakti, because it is comprehensive, because it gives so many correct ideas, people think it is not to be counted. But Swamiji here is showing, and Shankar in his Bhashya everywhere has quoted Shvetasvatar only when the question of Maya comes. What about that? And Swamiji also is telling that the correct idea of Maya became fixed only in the Shvetasvatar Upanishad. He has yet to explain what that is. But source is Shvetasvatar Upanishad for the fixed idea on Maya. And then see Swamiji's next sentence. Coming to the philosophers, you know the difference? Upanishads are Rishi Vakyas. The sages realized the truth and spoke about it. But then what it means, the rationalization of the experience of the rishis is called philosophy. And so, philosophers came. Coming to our philosophers, our means Indian mostly, or hour is only a general term? ये लगेगा 6:30 बजे. We find that this word Maya has been manipulated in various fashions until we come to the great Shankaracharya. That means Swamiji is telling us the correct idea of Maya can be found only in Shvetashvatara Upanishad, and when we come to philosophers, only in Shankaracharya. In between what happened? The theory of Maya was manipulated a little by the Buddhists too. But in the hands of the Buddhists, it became very much like what is called idealism. What is idealism? That the world is not real, it is only an idea in the mind. Idealism is not based upon the word ideal. Idealism is based upon the word idea. And like what is called idealism, because idealism is a philosophy known to the English people or Western people. And they say that nothing is outside, only mind is there, and that appears outside. So it is like illusion, which was stated by Swamiji. Here he will tell us clearly. It became very much like what is called idealism, and that is the meaning that is now generally given to the word Maya. Wrongly. Because of the influence of Buddhism, this has become wrongly a meaning of the word Maya, that idealism. When the Hindu says the world is Maya, at once people get the idea, at once means without thinking much they jump upon the idea. At once people get the idea that the world is an illusion. So illusion has come. Idealism is only in the mind. That is illusion. This interpretation has some basis as coming through the Buddhists. The Buddhistic philosophers, because there was one section of philosophers who did not believe in the external world at all among the Buddhists. But the Maya of the, but means that is not correct. But the Maya of the Vedanta in this last developed form is neither idealism nor realism. Because when it is not idealism, the Western thought jumps to the other side of realism, that the world is real. But we started with the problem that the world does not appear real. And our problem is why this unreal world appears. But if it is not idealism, we come to this side is realism. Swamiji says Maya does not accept that the world is real. Is neither idealism nor realism, nor is it a theory. That is the important point. Theory means it does not explain anything. Then what happens? It is a simple statement of facts. Simple statement of facts. This is what the great Acharya has told us. Let us find what it tells in the beginning of the Brahma Sutra. He says consciousness is there, and we call that as I. Matter is there. We call it, but Shankar calls it you, only to show the opposition. Only to show the contrast, he calls matter as you. And then he says, consciousness cannot be matter, matter cannot be consciousness, characteristics associated with consciousness cannot be the characteristics associated with matter, characteristics associated with matter cannot be the characteristics associated with consciousness. Some people have put this as Purva Paksha. But Shankar himself is telling, first remember this, no logic, no theory, no logic can explain how matter can become consciousness, how consciousness can become matter, how the qualities of consciousness can become that of matter, how the qualities of matter can become that of consciousness. First, please remember that cannot logically explain. There is no logic, no theory which can explain how the attributes of consciousness can become that of matter, how the attributes of matter can then become of consciousness. First fix this in your mind and then see. Tathapi, but even then. Satyanrute mithuni krutya, we have coupled truth and untruth. Ahamidam mamedam iti mithya pratyaya rupam. Mithya pratyaya, a feeling, a consciousness which is not real. Ahamidam mamedam iti naisargikoyam loka vyavahara. Naisargikoyam loka vyavahara. That means when we see the people's behavior, they feel I am the body, or it is my body. Or if it is, I am the body, then this is my property. If I am the indriyas or the mind, then my body, my property, my friends, my father, my mother. Is it not a fact? Is it not a fact that though consciousness and matter cannot be mixed up, is it not a fact that we are mixing up? Is it not a fact of our life and experience that we are calling this body or mind or as my, I? It is matter. How can it be I? And by also we have said, I shall die. If I is consciousness, it cannot die. We also say, I am small or big or short or Brahmin or Kshatriya. The consciousness cannot have any such qualities. So the attributes of matter have been imposed upon consciousness. Attributes of consciousness have been imposed upon matter, not by us, remember. This is the great mistake. The Vedantis generally say, we have superimposed. We have superimposed. And that is what Swamiji is telling. Coming through the Buddhist, it appears it is like that. Coming through the Buddhist, it appears we have superimposed. We have not superimposed the world. The world has been superimposed in our mind, in our consciousness. It is a statement of fact. The statement of fact, naisargikoyam loka vyavahara. When you see the behavior of the people, it appears very natural, though wrong. Mithya pratyaya rupa. How the mithya pratyaya has come? Satyanrute mithuni krutya. Some truth and some untruth have been coupled. And it has given rise to a false perception. And that is the statement of our fact. That is the statement of our life. I have not read this sentence completely. The important points are there. Statement of facts, what we are and what we see around us. That means about ourselves, we feel like that. About the world, we feel like that. So this Maya has two connotations, two contexts. All our ideas about ourselves are absolutely wrong from truth point of view, but they are there. They are natural, though wrong. They are wrong, though natural. And same thing about the world. Our ideas about the world are wrong, though they are natural to us. They are natural, though wrong. This is the one has to understand. And Swamiji, in a brilliant way, will make us understand through the facts of life. Basing upon, I would say, the statement by Shankaracharya, because Swamiji has directly told that the theory of Maya has been correctly interpreted by Shankaracharya. But coming through the Buddhists, it has taken a wrong turn. And today most of the Vedantis think like that. And we generally hear the talk among Vedantis, who have superimposed? Who have superimposed? Who are we to superimpose? The fact is that it appears to us like that. What is superimposition? Instead of saying consciousness, we are saying matter. Instead of saying God, we are saying the world. Instead of saying our real nature, we are saying our body. So, this is superimposition. We are not superimposed. It's a fact in everybody's life that the superimposition has taken place. That is what the important point is. And the ruler of this is God. Anyway, that we shall take up later. But now, we understand clearly, as Swamiji has said, as coming through the Buddhist, it has some meaning, though wrong, and unfortunately, you see, Vedanta today either has been influenced by Sankhya or influenced by Buddhism. That is what we find in today's Vedanta. Swamiji wants to clear this completely. And he is telling that coming through Buddhism, this idea has come that we are superimposed. Then it becomes illusion. World is not an illusion. World is what we see, a fact of life, in place of God. That is called superimposition. Something has been put on something in our consciousness. Actually it is not put, but in our consciousness something has been put on something else. The world has been put on the reality, and the characteristics of both are being superimposed on each other. Swami will explain it, but this is the idea which he has told. It is a simple statement of facts. Fact means what we experience, what we are and what we see around us. That means about ourselves and about the world which we perceive. Now, Swamiji traces how this Vedanta has come and various other ideas and the type of the mind possessed by the Aryans. So, this is Swamiji has already told. Now Swamiji is taking a different side to bring us here again. As I have told you before, the minds of the people from whom the Vedas came were intent upon following principles, discovering principles. Following principles, if they have found some principle, they will follow it to the logical end. And there are principles, we discover them and find them. This is what the minds of the rishis were made of. They had no time to work upon details or to wait for them. We have to explain here something little. The difference between those dealing with pure mathematics and those dealing with applied mathematics, or those dealing with science, pure science, and those dealing with technology. I'll quote a conversation between a scientist and a technologist, or maybe between pure mathematics and applied. The pure mathematician will try to find out the validity of everything. Validity of a principle will be his prime concern. While the applied mathematician will use it in applications and various details he will find. And the conversation says, the engineer or the technologist is telling the man of science, shall I stop eating bread? Because I do not know the process of digestion. That appears very intelligent observation of the engineer. But if you do not know the process of digestion, what we are eating we do not know. Whether it is injurious to the health or not, we do not know. Now I will give you another example. In my college days, I had two close friends. And we three, evening walk or cycling, or we used to go to the railway station many times. Now we are standing on a platform and there is an engine. I know that it is the steam which generates power for the engine to drive. That's all, that is the principle. Both of my friends will immediately go into where the piston is moving, how it is coming, how the steam is creating pressure. You understand the difference? Both of them became big engineers later on. You understand the mind? Now, in general, India and the Western world, they will busy themselves with the great details. And Indian Swamiji is telling are following principles and discovering principles. Now why Swamiji is telling this is try to come to what is Maya, but now let us have some observations. And that Swamiji is proposing that no time to work upon details or to wait for them. Wait means after 1,000 years we will find more details. But if the principle is wrong, finding more details will not correct it. They, Aryans, wanted to go deep into the heart of things. So this is superficially details. And discovering principles is going deep into the heart of things. Something beyond was calling them, as it were. So what we read in the necessity of religion or in the real nature of man, something beyond was calling them. The trend of the mind is transcendental. The trend of the mind is not dealing with the world more. As we found, when we deal with the world more, we are creating a mist between ourselves and the reality. Instead of that, we want to penetrate and find out the nature of truth. That is the big difference. And this Swamiji will slowly lead us to find how Maya is a statement of fact. Something beyond was calling them, as it were, and they could not wait. That eagerness to transcend, that eagerness to go to the reality, they cannot wait for finding details. Swamiji is accepting some errors scattered through the Upanishads. We find that the details of subjects which we now call modern science are often very erroneous. But at the same time, their principles are correct. While describing the details, they might have made some mistakes. But the principles are correct. For instance, now start from this point. First point Swamiji is taking, the idea of ether. In Swamiji's time, this idea was very prevalent. If we take space to be empty, many things cannot be understood. If we think it is filled up with matter, many things cannot be understood to the Western mind. So they thought of one substance, ether. Ether is not the alcoholic ether. Ether is a name given to an imaginary substance by the Western scientists to try to explain whether the space is empty or filled up in a peculiar way, which is one of the latest theories of modern science in Swamiji's time. Has already been given up now because it can't explain. Is to be found in our ancient literature in forms much more developed than in the modern scientific theory of ether today. So this Akasha has been analyzed in various ways in our country. But it was in principle. When they tried to demonstrate the workings of that principle, they made many mistakes. Swamiji accepts. The theory of the all-pervading life principle of which all life in the universe is but a differing manifestation, that is the prana. Prana. So, one side is ether, one side is prana, energy. The theory of the all-pervading life principle, of which all life in this universe is but a differing manifestation, was understood in Vedic times. It is found in the Brahmanas. Brahmanas is the second portion of the Vedas. Samhita, Brahman, Aranya. There is a long hymn in the Samhita in praise of prana, of which all life is but a manifestation. That prana is identified with Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic prana. And that they found and were praising it. By the way, it may interest some of you to know that there are theories in the Vedic philosophy about the origin of life on this earth, very similar to these which have been advanced by some modern European scientists. By the way, you of course all know that there is a theory that life came from other planets. Even today they are searching like that. It is a settled doctrine with some Vedic philosophers that light comes in this way from the moon. That is, by the way, that our theories and your theories tally, details may differ, coming to the principles. We find these Vedic things. So, details they make mistakes, details are similar to modern science. Modern science cannot explain, though they may find more details correctly. So, coming to the principles, we find these Vedic thinkers very courageous and wonderfully bold in propounding large and generalized theory. We will take it up on the next term. Very important thing, Swamiji is showing how this theory of Maya is achieved by following principles, not caring for the details. And that is how the transcendental turn of the mind can find the truth. That is what Swamiji is proposing, and he has already, in short, told us that statement of fact of what we experience about ourselves, what we experience about the world, though erroneous, though superimposed, Satyanrute Mithuni Kritya, that is the one place where Shankar says statement of fact. Tathapi Naisargikoyam Loka Vyavahara. And Swamiji, basing upon the Shvatashatra Upanishad, but taking a cue from this in 3 lectures, will show in our life how the contradictions are there, how in our life every moment there are contradictions. That Swamiji will show. So, a very brilliant lectures are there, these three. I wanted to tell something more about them. One thing I shall tell you, after finishing these lectures, Swamiji himself had said, it has been an achievement in English language. That means to explain the Vedic ideas in English was almost impossible, and Swamiji has achieved that. Secondly, I should tell that at the end, this Maya lecture, first lecture, is such a long lecture. In actual time, it would have taken more than 2 hours. What happened? It ends little abruptly. I will tell that on the next turn. Om Paratatve Sada Lino Ramakrishna Samagya Yo Dharma Sthapana Rato Viresham Tam Namamyam. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.